Hello everyone, in this video we'll be discussing about light reaction. We know that photosynthesis has two parts, one is light reaction and the other one is dark reaction. So we are discussing the first part of photosynthesis, that is light reaction, which is also called as photochemical phase. That means photo means light energy would be converted into chemical energy. So we have four important steps in this light reaction. The first one is light absorption. Plant absorbs sunlight. Now the second step and the third step are connected, that means water splitting and oxygen release. Actually, two molecules of water will split into four hydrogen ions, or say four protons plus four electrons plus one oxygen molecule. And this was first stated by Cornelius Van Niel, the scientist who told us that plant is not converting carbon dioxide into oxygen, it is actually the water which is producing oxygen, which plant releases in the process of photosynthesis. So we have two steps related. One is water splitting. When water will split, oxygen will be released. And the last step, which is formation of the energy currency of plant, which is ATP and NADPH. So that's why it is called as photochemical. The energy of light is converted into chemical energy in the bonds of adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP. Let's start the discussion. So first we'll be discussing about light absorption. How does plant actually trap the energy in sunlight? So for that we should know what do we mean by light harvesting complex. Just like rainwater harvesting, there we are storing the water. Here in light harvesting complex, we store the light energy. So it is made up of pigment molecules, this light harvesting complex, and it has two important structures in it. One is the reaction center and the other one is antenna. So light harvesting complex is a structure which is made up of pigments, and we have discussed four pigments of photosynthesis: chlorophyll A, B, and then xanthophyll and carotenoids. So these are making this light harvesting complex. So let's start the discussion. It is made up of hundreds of pigment molecules and these are bound to proteins. As I told you, light harvesting complex has two important structures in it. One is the reaction center, which is present in the center, and then we have the other thing which is called as antenna. The reaction center is made up of one single molecule of chlorophyll A, and the antenna is formed by hundreds of pigments except chlorophyll A. Plant was very particular. Plant said that I want my chlorophyll A molecule only in the center, in the reaction center. Therefore, reaction center will have single molecule of chlorophyll A. And what is the use of this reaction center? This is the place where plant would absorb light and excite the electron. And electron is only involved in production of ATP, be it our respiration, be it this photosynthesis. Everywhere this electron would be excited, would be traveled through electron transport system. This electron will make proton gradient, and the breakdown of this proton gradient would lead to the formation of ATP. So same story happening again and again at different places in nature. Now let's see, once the reaction center chlorophyll A molecule, that is single molecule, has absorbed the light, excited the electrons, now these electrons would be sent to the antenna, which is made up of hundreds of pigments except chlorophyll A. And these antenna would send it to a substance, an acceptor molecule, which has higher redox potential. We'll discuss everything in detail, just chill. So we, for the time being, remember light harvesting complex, reaction center, and the other one is antenna. Antenna is made up of all the pigments except chlorophyll A. Let's move ahead. So here we have the diagram of light harvesting complex as shown in NCERT textbook. The photon describes the light energy. When it falls on the molecule, the first molecule would be our reaction center, which is made up of single molecule of chlorophyll A. This reaction center would excite the electron and send it to hundreds of pigment molecules, which is forming the antenna. And this antenna would send the excited electron to a primary electron acceptor which has higher redox potential. So this is all about absorption of light, that is first step of light reaction. Now let us know more detail about light harvesting complex. We have two types of light harvesting complex. The first one is photosystem 1 and the second one is photosystem 2. We have already discussed that photosystem 2 absorbs more of red light, that means a light having 680 nanometer wavelength, and therefore maximum photosynthesis takes place in red light region. We discussed in our video of pigments. Now let's discuss both of these photosystems. So actually both of the photosystems are light harvesting complex whose main job is to absorb light and excite the electron. So what is the difference between photosystem 1 and photosystem 2? The difference between both of them lies in their reaction center. We know that reaction center has single molecule of chlorophyll A. Then what is the difference? The difference is actually in their absorption peak. And before I tell you that, you should know that these photosystems are named in the sequence of their discovery, not in the sequence in which they perform their function. For example, functionally photosystem 2 will function before than photosystem 1, but just because they were named as on the basis of their discovery, in the sequence of the discovery, they got their name in such way. Otherwise I would have named them photosystem 1 and 2, just reciprocal names in the order of their functions. This is a question for you. They are named in the sequence of their discovery. Now let us see the major difference between these two photosystems lies in the reaction center chlorophyll A molecule. What is so unique about this chlorophyll A molecule? This has different absorption peak for both of these photosystems. So this chlorophyll A molecule in photosystem 1 says that I will have an absorption peak of say 700 nanometer. So we'll have to remember that 700 nanometer is the absorption peak of photosystem 1, and in photosystem 2 absorption peak lies within 680 nanometer wavelength range. Therefore photosystem 1 is also called as P700, just denoting its the absorption peak, and photosystem 2 is also called as P680. Now friends, let me explain you what do they mean by this statement. We all know that photosynthetic active radiations are between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer range, and here over this range we have blue color light, over that range we have red color light. Now what is happening that photosystem 1 says that I will have an absorption peak of 700 nanometer. That means any light which is between these wavelengths would be easily absorbed by photosystem 1, PS1. But photosystem 2 lacks this power because it has an absorption peak of 680 nanometer. That means if the light beyond 680 nanometer wavelength is available for the plant, photosystem 2 cannot function. That is, beyond 680 nanometer, photosystem 2 will not absorb light. Understood? That occurs like if I give only red colored light to the plant, which photosystem would be active? The answer would be both. Why? Because red color light is of 680 nanometer and that comes in the spectrum of both these photosystems. But if you give a red light of higher wavelength than 680 nanometer, then of course only photosystem 1 would be functionally active. You could remember these wavelengths like the scores of your NEET. Like we know that NEET exam has 720 marks like in grand total. So the student who achieves 700 marks will have a rank 1, and the student who is securing 680 marks would have rank 2. Nowadays this is not the scene because 700 they get 720 on 720 these days, and the 700 person is actually having rank 15-20. That is something different. So just remember it like this: reaction center of chlorophyll A, which is made up of chlorophyll A, Of photosystem 1 will absorb maximum at 700 nanometer of chlorophyll, of photosystem 2 will absorb maximum at 680 nanometer. Now let's talk about electron transport. So the discussion of first step, that is light absorption, is complete. Now let's talk about how is this light energy converted into chemical energy. So the moderator between these two forms of energy is our electron. Light energy would excite the electron, and this electron would create some proton gradients, which when will be broken down will result into formation of ATP. So this is a complete cycle of non-cyclic photophosphorylation. I have a dedicated video for this topic, therefore I will not discuss in detail, just I'll give you an overview. So LHC means light harvesting complex of photosystem 2. So I can say this is PS2. So when light will fall on the light harvesting complex of photosystem 2, it would excite the electron, which will pass through this electron transport system and come to the photosystem 1. So light harvesting complex of photosystem 1 will receive this and ultimately will send it to NADP plus molecule. But photosystem 2 says, hey photosystem 1, you took my electron, give it back to me. But photosystem 1 will say, oh sorry, I gave your electron to NADP plus and he ran away. Now this photosystem 2 needs electron. So from where will it get electron? So for that, a special reaction takes place in this light reaction phase. The water molecule says, I am so generous that I will give you my electrons. Water would destroy itself, would split into electrons, protons and nascent oxygen atom. So this is called as splitting of water, which is also a part of light reaction of photosynthesis. Overall, if you see what is happening, that we have this N type structure being formed just because of movement of electrons. If we see it the other way, from this side we could see a Z being formed. Therefore it is called as Z scheme of photosynthesis, just because the pigments are arranged in this order. And this scheme leads to the formation of ATP and NADPH whensoever electron will pass through the electron transport system. Now let's talk about the generosity of water, that is splitting of water, that is our second and third important steps of light reaction. So here we have studied the fourth step, that is formation of ATP and NADPH. The first step was light absorption, which we have dealt in light harvesting complex discussion. Now second and third point, splitting of water and release of oxygen is left. So as I already told you, the water splits to replace the electrons which were moved from photosystem 2. Photosystem 2 gave it to his friend photosystem 1. Now this reaction occurs in the lumen of thylakoid. And what do we mean by lumen of thylakoid? So if we have a chloroplast, we know that this is a double membrane bound structure. So inside that we have thylakoids, and if we have a stack of thylakoid, we call it as Grana, and a thylakoid which is connecting to Grana is called as Stroma Lamella. Now let us zoom this picture. Let me draw a thylakoid for you. So this is one single thylakoid. So inside the thylakoid we have lumen, and it is actually the membrane of this thylakoid in which the electron transport system is present. And this electron transport system is made up of cytochrome B and F, best friends. Now you can see this diagram that inside chloroplast we have many thylakoids, and inside thylakoid we have lumen, and in this lumen only water is splitting into protons, electrons and nascent oxygen atom. That's the story. So if we see the reaction of splitting of water, as we started our discussion with this, 2 molecules of water would give us 4 protons, 1 molecule of oxygen gas and 4 electrons. So water splits into protons, nascent oxygen atom and electrons, and this reaction creates oxygen which is released by the plant in the surrounding, and we say that plant is helpful for our surroundings because they release oxygen by converting carbon dioxide, by converting water into oxygen. So for this reaction to take place, we need manganese ion and chloride ion. So this reaction is dependent on two important ions, manganese ion, not magnesium ion, that is Mg. Magnesium ion is not used here. So with this, we have completed the discussion of light reaction. Light reaction has 4 important steps. First was light harvesting complex. So light harvesting complex is the complex which is actually absorbing light. So it is made up of 2 things. One is reaction center, other is antenna. Reaction center is made up of one single molecule of chlorophyll A. Antenna is made up of hundreds of pigments except chlorophyll A. Now this will absorb light and would send it to electron transport system. Electron transport system would lead to the formation of ATP and NADPH, and the 2 steps left in this light reaction is splitting of water to replace the electrons of photosystem 2 and release oxygen to the atmosphere. With this, we have finished the discussion. Hope you like this detailed video of discussion of light reaction, and do check my other content also. Thank you for watching this video till the end. And you can get all these notes on my Telegram channel. Do visit that channel also.